Main events get remembered, champions get photographed, but every wrestling territory, especially Portland, was built on something just as important. The wrestlers who opened the show, anchored the middle, and made the stars look like stars. They didn't always leave with the belt, but without them, there is no main event. And this is the Mid-Card Chronicle, featuring the dependable talents who made every card complete. Brian Adidas arrived in Portland in March of 1983 at a very interesting time. The babyface side of the card was stacked. Buddy Rose, Billy Jack Haynes, Kurt Hennig. That's serious depth. So when Adidas began picking up wins over Ali Hassan, Chief Tapu, Tia, and Chris Colt, it was clear he had potential, but there was only so far up the ladder he could realistically climb. And honestly, being stuck in the middle card in 1983 Portland wasn't an insult. It meant you were in the deep pool. Adidas had a good look, solid fundamentals, and enough personality to connect. But then something unusual happened. He teamed with Buddy Rose. On paper, that pairing didn't immediately make sense. Rose was the established star. Adidas was still climbing. Yet together, they captured the Northwest Tag Team titles. Their reign only lasted 11 days, but it's one of those curious footnotes in Portland history, a short-lived title run during a crowded era. Elsewhere, particularly in Texas, Adidas arguably found stronger footing, especially after turning heel. Sometimes a character shift unlocks something. Sometimes a wrestler fits better in a different ecosystem. In Portland, he was part of a loaded roster, a dependable piece in a year filled with headline-level talent. And in a territory that prized in-ring performance, that counted for something. Geoff Portz had already been wrestling for nearly a quarter century when he arrived in the Northwest late in 1975. He debuted in November and quickly formed a team with fellow Englishman Johnny Eagles. In Eagles' Ring Around the Northwest interview, he mentioned that Portz had been his roommate in the Mid-Atlantic territory, a reminder of how small the wrestling world often was behind the scenes. Now, Portz had personality. He would walk to the ring wearing a large, bushy wig. During his introduction, he'd dramatically pull it off to reveal his bald head underneath. It was simple, it was effective, and it got a reaction. His run in the Northwest lasted about 5 months, from November 75 to March 76. He worked steadily, contributed to the tag division, and added a bit of character flavor to the mid-card. Wrestling families are part of the sport's DNA, and Portz's legacy extended beyond his own career. His son was Irish Pat McGee, later known to many as Scott McGee. Sometimes the impact of a wrestler isn't measured solely by championships or main events. Sometimes it's in the connections, the partnerships, the mentorships, the lineage. Geoff Portz brought all of that with him to Portland. Ferdinand Messier came out of Montreal with a smart idea. A gimmick, Johnny War Eagle. When you look at Native American ring names in wrestling history, there have been many strong ones, but Johnny War Eagle stands out. It had rhythm, it had power, and he looked the part. War Eagle had a distinctive appearance, including a deep cleft in his chin that made him visually memorable. He debuted in Omaha, and within a month of starting his career, he was in Oregon. Given his Montreal roots and timing, it's reasonable to speculate that someone like Mad Dog Vachon may have had an influence in his development. In fact, War Eagle's second match in Oregon was against Vachon himself. For someone barely into his career, he was given meaningful opportunities. He scored wins over Tom Andrews and Jerry Monty, and even picked up a victory over Northwest champion Lonnie Mayne. That's significant booking for a wrestler only in his second month. He teamed at various times with Luigi Massera and Bobby Shane, but it was his pairing with Billy White Wolf that stuck. On November 27, 1968, War Eagle and White Wolf defeated the Von Steigers to capture the Northwest Tag Team titles. They held them for about a month before losing them back to the Von Steigers, a classic territorial exchange. War Eagle wrestled full times for roughly 7 years, working in the Northwest, Tri-State, Mid-South, Montreal, and even touring Germany and England. He wasn't a decades-long fixture, but during his time, he was dynamic, credible, and well-positioned. Like many mid-card stalwarts, his run wasn't about longevity on top. It was about making an impact when the opportunity came. And in 1968 Portland, he did exactly that. Not every wrestler becomes a face of a territory. Every territory survived because of the ones who show up night after night and make the card work. The steady hands, the character builders, the glue that held it together. And this has been the Mid-Card Chronicles, because without the middle, there is no main event. This series is based on the Encyclopedia of Portland Wrestlers by historian Mike Rogers. It's available now on Amazon, and new episodes drop every Friday. So be sure to follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on YouTube. I'm your host, Frank Culbertson, and thanks for joining us here on the Mid-Card Chronicle.